I love Halo. Growing up, I remember going to my friends' and cousins' houses to play Halo 2. It was an awesome game, shooting aliens, saving the planet, having these awesome, amazing, incredible environments to explore, and after some convincing, I convinced my parents to buy me an Xbox 360 and Halo for my birthday. It was 2007, and I was turning 11, just after Christmas. My parents got me an Xbox 360, while my grandfather purchased Halo 3. And out of all of my birthdays, it is actually one of the ones I remember the best. Halo 3 remains probably my favorite game ever made. But for a long time, Halo 3 was my only game. You see, I couldn't play games rated M. Halo was okay since it was about killing aliens. But on Xbox Live, I noticed something. A lot of my friends were playing Fallout 3. What was that? I thought to myself. I honestly had no idea. I mainly played Nintendo games before Xbox and had very little exposure to Microsoft or PC. I asked my friend and he was like, "Oh, it's a zombie apocalypse game and you kill zombies and stuff and it's cool." I mean, we were stupid kids. Anyway, I convinced my mom to let me buy Fallout 3. I mean, after all, it was just a zombies game. How bad could it be? So I exchanged my Game Boy SP and other Game Boy games at GameStop or EB Games or whatever the fuck it's called. I mean, surely those Game Boy games will never be worth anything again. Anyways, I exchanged them for probably pennies and purchased Fallout 3. I went home, I put that sucker in the Xbox 360, and was quickly sucked into an insane world that, well, doesn't even have zombies. Well, depending on who you ask.
Zombies are too...
At the very beginning of the game, I let a mother die, killed my girlfriend's father,
Daddy!
and began my journey into the wasteland. Being a dumb kid, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't discover Megaton until about halfway through the game, and instead I wandered right into Springvale. I found this robot thing and killed it promptly. I found Silver and thought it was weird, and then I found this school. A nice, peaceful elementary school. A place where children go to learn, to be educated, to make friends, to socialize, to play sports. What could be? Oh my god. Hello everyone, the Army of Otters here, and today we're going to be looking at Springvale along with Springvale School or Springvale Elementary School. Now, Springvale kind of has a special place in my heart because it was my true first real experience with Fallout and the Wasteland. Of course, you have all the stuff going on in Vault 101 at the very beginning of the game, but as soon as I've left Vault 101, this is where I went, and I was absolutely horrified. So, let's jump on into Springvale. Now, Springvale is obviously right next to Vault 101, just north of Megaton, and we're also going to be checking out the area surrounding it as there is a lot of unmarked areas. So, we are just now leaving Vault 101 here. Obviously, I just went to Vault 101 to approach Springvale from. I'm approaching on the cliffs because after completing the Waters of Life quest, there may or may not be an Enclave Outpost here, or at least the very beginnings of an Enclave Outpost. We can find a vertibird which has landed and some Enclave soldiers. One mini nuke though will help to neutralize the Enclave threat. Big hit there. And after that we can go over to the highway, which is just west of Vault 101, and we can find some raiders and dog meats already, well, traumatizing the raiders. For the most part though, this was actually a pretty simple fight. Just take out the raiders. Obviously though, I'm a higher level now. If you came here right out of Vault 101, it might prove to be a bit challenging. This raider just kind of stood still after I shot out her sniper rifle and let me kill her, so very kind of her. After that, I found about 3 raiders that were just meleeing, so I just kind of ran backwards, which could be dangerous since we're at an elevated area, so do be careful. But just below the highway on the west side, we can find some more enclaves, so using a missile launcher from above, I was able to make quick work of these guys, so not too bad. They also had a Deathclaw over off in the distance there, and they were fighting the Deathclaw, as you can see right there. I tried to shoot a missile at him, but I don't know if it actually did anything. And by the time I got down there, the Deathclaw was dead or was gone. I don't know what happened to him, but thank you very much, Enclave, for taking out that threat. Further down the highway, we can find these shacks, but there's really nothing in them as far as loot. And at the very end of the highway, or at least before it collapsed, we can find this bus just hanging off the edge. But unfortunately, we cannot get in the bus, unlike in Fallout 4. Most of the buses are accessible. Fallout 3, they have to be like destroyed or cut in half, like the bus I just jumped on top of. But there's really no loot here, and the highway just collapsed into the river. Now, as we come up towards the farm where the Enclave were, found another Enclave soldier, so we killed him. Again, I have no clue where that Deathclaw went. I couldn't find his body or anything. Inside of the house, there is, well, a bed frame, and really not much else. Eventually, this Yaoguai decided to attack me and Dogmeat, but yeah, not much of a match for either of us. Then we can just loot the dead Enclave. Also, the Enclave has some of these kind of crates, so you can see what you find in them. A lot of the times they have microfusion cells, which are good for me, because I like using the laser rifle. And then we can loot that other Enclave soldier that we blew up with missiles. Going back, there was still an Enclave officer alive, so me and Dogmeat took him back. Then something really weird happened. We had an Enclave soldier being resurrected, and for some reason he didn't wear, and then I shot Dogmeat, but for some reason he wasn't wearing his power armor. I'm pretty sure I killed him with a mini nuke, but for some reason he was revived without his power armor. When we looted his body, he had power armor. So I don't know if this is because I died and respawned and I reset the area a little bit or something, but anyways, I just thought it was a really funny encounter. Then next to the Enclave Outpost, or the one that's being set up, we can find these two houses on top of a hill overlooking Springvale. And then we can jump down into Springvale, and we have this small ranch-style house, and inside of this house is where we will find Silver. Silver is a former Megaton resident and escort. She worked for Colin Moriarty, and she is tied to the quest 300 Pieces of Silver, where we have to collect a debt for Moriarty from Silver. So obviously working for Moriarty seems to be pretty bad, since she would rather live out here next to a gang of raiders in an Enclave outpost than in the safety of Megaton's walls. Now, over here we can find a red rocket stopping area where they would, refuel coolant for the nuclear-powered cars. Obviously, it's just kind of bare bones, but it is pretty iconic, at least for me, because I remember this is one of the first sights I ever saw in Fallout 3, along with this iBot that I promptly murdered once again. Now, over here we have some suitcases. Perhaps this family was trying to leave when the nukes went off. Inside of their mailbox, we can find a letter which reads, "Dear safety-conscious citizen, we are writing to inform you that your family was not selected for inclusion in your chosen Vault-Tec facility. Your deposit has been retained, and your application added to a waiting list for your preferred vault. In the interest of your family's security in the event of a minor nuclear event, please consider relocating to one of these areas, where Vault-Tec facilities are available without a waiting list. For a full list of Vault-Tec facilities with available accommodations in exciting locales such as Oklahoma and newly annexed Canada, contact your local Vault-Tec representative. Vault-Tec wishes you and your family the best of luck in the uncertain future. Best regards, Vault-Tec, Public Relations Department, Washington, D.C." Now, you can actually find these letters scattered around the Capital Wasteland, but I wanted to read it in this episode because there's another Vault-Tec letter found at a different house here in Springvale that is of interest. Now, over here we have the Springvale playground. There is a milk bottle just laying here, a tricycle. I always love these Fallout playgrounds. They just add an element of realism to the world. Inside of this house, there is a safe that I completely missed. So, kind of a failing otter there. But anyways, there is a safe with random loot inside of it, but nothing like great or exceptional. Now, over here in this house, you can look inside this mailbox, kind of the middle house here on the right side or on the north side, and we can find a copy of Pugilism Illustrated inside of the mailbox. Inside of this house, there is a footlocker with leather armor, but really not a whole lot else. There's also a mailbox which we can loot that is fallen over, but there was really nothing inside of it for me besides a Nuka-Cola. But hey, Nuka-Cola is always good. Then the end house of the street here, there's nothing inside. We also have a mailbox with random chems and some frag grenades, so not bad, not bad. Now, assuming you stumbled down into Springvale at the very beginning of the game, you would have some decent loot like the leather armor and some chems and stuff to help you in your playthrough. Now, as we make our way further into Springvale towards the school, we have a locked cabinet that had some bobby pins inside of it, pretty good. And over in this house, we have another mailbox with a letter from Vault-Tec. This letter is very interesting, and it reads, Dear Mr. and Mrs. Gomez, congratulations on your family's recent inclusion in the Vault 101 community. You will find outlined in your application materials a full review of rules and procedures related to preparing for shelter in a Vault-Tec facility, but we will outline a few key points here. Vault-Tec provides all clothing, bedding, and accommodations for residents. Personal belongings must be reviewed and approved of by an authorized Vault-Tec hermetics technician before such belongings can be delivered to your reserved quarters within the vault. In the event of an emergency entrance to the vault, no personal belongings will be permitted beyond the main door of the facility. All vault residents must attend an orientation seminar. If you do not attend such a seminar as part of the application process, you must make an appointment with your Vault-Tec representative. In the event of a vault activation, whether actual or drill, Vault-Tec will sound a siren audible in the immediate vicinity of the vault facility entrance, and residents will be contacted via holo message at the phone number provided in their resident profile records. Please report promptly to Vault 101 to await minutes and processing upon such a notification. Vault-Tec looks forward to having you and your family as valued residents. Be sure to present this letter to your Vault-Tec representative to receive your special commemorative Vault Boy bobblehead toy. Sincerely, Vault-Tec Department of Public Relations, Washington, D.C. So obviously the Mr. and Mrs. Gomez here are the ancestors of the Gomez family within Vault 101. Obviously there is Herman Gomez, who is married to Pepper Gomez, and their son, Freddie Gomez. So this family is obviously very prominent, as Gomez believes that the lone wanderer's father is innocent, and he kind of helps us escape the vault during the quest Escape. Now, we don't know if this house actually belonged to the Gomez family because this letter can also be found near Tenpenny Tower in a ruined house. However, I'm going to assume they lived here in Springvale just because of its proximity to Vault 101. But that pretty much covers the neighborhood and all of the houses. The next thing of interest is Springvale Elementary School, otherwise known as just Springvale School. Now, this school is relatively large, and it's maybe one of the first structures you will encounter in your playthrough of Fallout 3. Now, just behind the school, we can find this locked gate and some radioactive barrels underneath an electrical pole, and we can also find a first aid kit and a hunting rifle, which might be a good find at the very beginning of the game. Now, there will be some raiders in this collapsed section of the school. Perhaps this section collapsed because of a nuclear explosion. Additionally, the raiders are using explosives underneath the school, which we'll get more into later, that could have had an impact on this part. But as we come into this part of the building, we'll see that it's all open air and that you can kind of navigate without actually entering the school. On the bottom level, there are a lot of lockers, but there is nothing of note as far as loot. Not even some bottle caps, just a few lockers with some junk. If we just cross the bridge, we can find a coffee maker and some coffee mugs. Muggy would be very satisfied, but on the second floor, there is really not much. There are two staircases in the outside portion, both of which just take us to the second floor, but there's no loot. This just provides us access to the windows and a good place to kind of scout out and to shoot, well, if you had any enemies. As we enter, we will find a cage filled with the bodies of children, which is really disturbing, and also above the cage is a Nuka-Cola Quantum, but we'll have to go upstairs to the second floor in order to retrieve it. As we make our way inside, you're going to find a lot of raiders. Now, when I was a kid, this is one of the first places I ever went, and I was quite shocked at what this game was. Again, I had no clue what I was playing when I first played this game. I just knew like it was post-apocalypse, and yeah, I found these very disturbing things, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. So actually, my entire life, I was terrified of Springvale School. It's really not that scary compared to other Fallout places, but as a kid, and this being your first experience in Fallout, it is kind of terrifying. There's a lot of blood everywhere, there's mutilated bodies everywhere, there's skeletons, children's skeletons in cages. Who knows what the fuck was going on here? In the kitchen, we can find a stim pack next to a dead mole rat, and over here we can find some rat-away next to a whole bunch of beers. Now, on the east side of the school, we can find some ABCs on the wall. In the classroom across from there, you're going to find a raider, and also we can find sheet music in that overturned desk. I'll show it right here. There's the sheet music just hiding out behind the desk. Again, this is in the eastern part of the school, opposite of the ABCs. Just outside, we can find a cage with a skeleton inside, and then we just are back at the entrance. The school can be a little bit confusing to explore, but for the most part, it does make sense. Now, something to note as we make our way to the second floor, the cardinal directions within this facility are kind of messed up. I entered from the east, like the east entrance, but as soon as I popped inside, I was facing north. So for some reason, it's rotated the wrong way, but but hey, who cares? On the second floor, you'll find a raider that has a library key. We can use this key to unlock this door here, and here we can find a raider just kind of like walking into a wall, but I'm pretty sure that is actually the leader of this gang, because we can find this terminal that is next to a copy of Duck and Cover that has various log entries that are of interest. The first one reads, Bopo died like a bitch. He didn't even have half a bad idea setting up here. We had a good thing going. Picked off some caravans and traders on their way into Megaton. He was stupid to try and raid the town. Dumbass deserved the bullet Sims put in his head. Anyway, there's sweeter water to be had here. That damn vault's what we should be trying to get into. Not that rag-ass town. If we can get in there, ain't none of us going to want again for the rest of our lives. And then log entry number 2 reads, some of the scabs got tired of digging the tunnel and started using mines to get into the caves. Not a half bad idea. The explosions damn near knocked the building apart. We got a new window or 2 on the side of the building. Haha. I'm going to have some of the boys knock over a caravan for more explosives, but we'll have to use fewer in the blast or some assholes from Megaton will come looking. And the final entry reads, hit a goddamn hive of ants in the tunnel. Bastards ate 7 of our best diggers before we could lock off the way in. Need to find some way to poison them so we can keep digging and blast into that vault. If we don't get there soon, I think I'm going to end up like Bopo, except it won't be the sheriff popping me. It's gonna be my own men. So yes, these raiders are trying to bomb and mine their way into Vault 101. They want to get inside the vault for obvious reasons to escape the wasteland, and only God knows what would happen if they actually accomplished that, but thankfully there was an army of ants. Additionally, I don't know how easy it is actually to get into a vault, even though this section is already underground. If they could just simply blast their way into it, or if the vault is too resilient. I don't know, let me know in the comments section below. But after that, we can go loot the leader, and we can find a log on him, but it's actually just log number 3 from the terminal in the form of a holotape, so don't really know the point. Behind us, we can find some ammunition boxes, one of which has an easy lock, so we can just pick it. The other boxes are fine, though, not locked, so just take all the ammunition that you can carry. After that, we'll head to the northeast part of the school and go all the way down to the basement. There's this random bedroom here, but there's nothing inside. But we'll go all the way down to the basement where the mine is and the ants are. So obviously we have to find the mine first, and we can use the key that we took off the raider in the library area. Now, there will be some raiders down here, and at first it just looks like a normal school, right? There's obviously not a mine, or it's been locked away because of the ants. So we'll just make our way through, killing the raiders. Really, as far as loot, there is not a whole lot down here, at least until we get to the mine. Now, it is worth mentioning that there are 3 entrances into the bottom section of the school. This double door is from the Capital Wasteland and the collapsed portion of the school. Then there's 2 other entrances from inside the school itself. But eventually you're going to find a locked door, which is at the end of this hallway to the left, and this key will open the door, and then we can find the actual mine. We can see that the raiders have been doing quite a lot of work. They are pretty impressive, I do have to say, and it does make me wonder if they could actually break into Vault 101. At the intersection, go left, right is just a dead end, and there's going to be a plethora of giant soldier ants, which we have to fight. Eventually, we're going to come to this large room, and there's kind of like an ant tunnel over here to the east, but, you know, we can't obviously go in there. And then over here to the north, we can find a bunch of ant eggs, some stim packs, some ammunition, some chems on one of the wastelanders, and then underneath this wastelander is a Chinese special ops training manual, which will increase our sneak pretty good. But as you come into this room, a fuck ton of soldier ants will spawn, and then I decided to play Ring Around the Rosie with them. Dog Meat actually kind of got stuck in the ant hole over there that I showed earlier on the eastern part, so he was just fighting the ants from inside their own home. What a legend. But I don't know how close the raiders were actually to getting to Vault 101, or if they could even break in, but it is interesting to think that if it wasn't for some giant soldier ants, perhaps the story of Fallout 3 never would have happened, because the raiders would have broke into Vault 101, and, well, they probably would have killed everyone or enslaved them or, you know, done some absolutely terrible things. Now, just real quick, back up on the second story. Here is me getting that Nuka-Cola Quantum with all of the mutilated bodies next to it. But yeah, make sure you get that Nuka-Cola Quantum. But that pretty much sums up the interior of the school. Now, as we make our way back outside, we can find this large baseball field to the southwest, just behind the school. There was a boat fly hanging out here, but I killed it. And, you know, boat flies are not very threatening in game. And then if we go towards the north, we can find our kind of like last building of Springvale, this kind of old, decrepit concrete structure. Don't know what function or purpose this building had, but there is now a small Enclave Outpost next to it. And judging by the state of the building, it may have been important for something. Over here, it seems like we have some kind of maybe water treatment or just industrial facilities kind of in the water here. This is the Potomac River, of course. And then the building is irradiated, so it appears that there was some kind of large explosion or something in here. I don't know if it was actually like a nuclear explosion. I doubt it, just because it doesn't look like enough damage. But perhaps that was targeted or there was some kind of incident after the Great War. And then over here we have an Enclave research terminal, which has information about Mirelurks and the Great American Cockroach, also known as the Radroach, or what they believe is now a Radroach. And there's also some Enclave crates with random loot and ammunition inside, so make sure you take a look. Then after that, I decided to head over here to this barn. Now, I actually covered this barn in one of my first videos about the Super Duper Mart. There is a Chinese Special Ops training manual in here. However, when I visited this location before, there was no Enclave Outpost. Now there is a very large Enclave Outpost, and they were kicking my ass. These Hellfire Troopers are frackin' annoying. But yeah, we were just using missiles, and we were able to take them out eventually. But man, this Hellfire Soldier was so freaking tough to kill. Had a lot of health, and his fire, well, it just destroys your HP. But after that, we can go take a look around the Enclave Outpost. There are, of course, these Enclave crates, and there's also a large first aid box with healing items and chems and stuff, so that's really good. There's a mailbox, but nothing in the mailbox, and then we have some of these pre-war cars. There's also an Enclave scientist at this facility, which is kind of rare, and he was just cowering away. I was like, who's shooting me? And I'm an idiot because they were behind me. But I went down and I just killed the scientist and the turret. Kind of mean maybe to kill the scientist, but he drops a finger, so that means he's evil karma, the bastard. And there's another research terminal about boat flies, Brahmin, and giant ants. This research is kind of interesting, and I'm sure it would be helpful for people. Then on this bookshelf is where you can find the Chinese Special Ops training manual, if you haven't already picked it up, like I have. And there you guys have it. Springvale. And one last thing I wanted to mention, while there is no Springvale town in real life, in Northern Virginia, in the approximately same location as Springvale in Fallout 3, there is Springvale Road, which likely inspired the name of this town in Fallout 3. So pretty cool, and you know, just more real-world references. And there you guys have it, Springvale. I'm sure Springvale is a place that many players had their first experiences in Fallout 3, and perhaps the entire Fallout franchise. So I'm interested to know, what is your experience in Springvale? Did you go straight to Megaton? Did you go straight to Springvale? Or did you go somewhere else entirely? Let us know in the comments section below. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I had a lot of fun exploring this video. I learned a lot about Springvale Elementary. I actually never knew about the Vault 101 expedition going on in there, so I thought that was really interesting. Just that was a place I always avoided because of my memories as a child. So this video was kind of special for me because I was able to have some nostalgic feelings about Springvale and just my first experiences in Fallout 3. If you guys have any recommendations or ideas for future videos or future locations, please post them in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, until next time.